Hi, this is David McCann for WebTNG. In this video, I'm looking at creating custom post types using the new version of Advanced Custom Fields. For a long time, the most popular way to create custom post types was to use Custom Post Type UI to create the custom post types and custom taxonomies, and pair that with Advanced Custom Fields for adding the custom fields. However, ACF recently included the ability to create custom post types and custom taxonomies without the need for another plugin, and I predict that this will quickly become the most used option. In this video, I'm going to do a walkthrough using the free version of ACF to create two custom post types with a relationship field joining them, create a custom taxonomy, and add custom fields. I'll also show you how to make the relationship field between the two custom post types bidirectional if you want to do that. Before we get started with the walkthrough, you might be wondering, why ACF? There are several reasons why ACF is the most popular option. First, Advanced Custom Fields has a free version with all of the basic field types. The free version has more than 2 million active installs. The Pro version adds some additional field types and advanced features. 2. ACF support is excellent, and there are a number of third-party extensions. 3. ACF is the most widely supported custom field solution. Virtually every third-party plugin that supports custom fields supports advanced custom fields. 4. ACF is supported by all the major page builders that have support for dynamic data, and the professional versions of major page builders have a theme builder that allows you to create single and archive templates for your custom post types. All of them support ACF. And finally, 5. Now that some site builders are moving to Gutenberg and Gutenberg-based solutions, and perhaps even the full site editor, you'll find that ACF is also here the most widely supported custom fields plugin. So now we know why ACF is the most popular choice. Let's turn to the walkthrough. If you like the video, please subscribe. It helps to spread the word about the channel. I have a test site here with the free Cadence theme. Let's go look at the plugins installed. You can see I have the free version of Advanced Custom Fields. It's version 6.1 and later that has the ability to create custom post types. I have the WP Vivid Backup plugin installed to make site backups, and WP Codebox for snippets, and we'll be using a code snippet later on in the video. Here's the ACF menu. You see you have field groups, post types, taxonomies, and tools. I just want to show you the tools menu here first. The reason to show you this is that the features of ACF that you can export or import vary depending on what you've set up and what you have installed. So I did a video of migrating from CPT-UI, and custom post types and taxonomies from there showed to be imported on this menu. So you can look at that video if you're curious how that works. Let's start. We'll go and create our two custom post types. I'm going to call the first one audiobooks, and then the key, you notice how it puts an underscore. That used to be required. Now you can use a dash, and I like that a little bit better. This is going to be the slug in the URL. So that's the way I like that to look. Then you have public, hierarchical like pages. And if you wanted to, you could just click save and that would be it. But there are a few things we want to change. And to get to more options, you click the advanced configuration. So here you have linked taxonomies. We haven't created a custom taxonomy yet. These are the features of the post type that it supports. Title editor, that's the content. Featured image, then author. You don't really need to add that unless you're going to have more than one author on the site. Excerpt, some themes and tools will automatically create an excerpt for you. That's kind of the more modern way. But if you need to manually create an excerpt, then you would check that. Custom fields, that's the WordPress core version of custom fields. Comments, revisions. I always like to have revisions in case I make a mistake. Post formats, trackbacks, page attributes, or custom. And this is nice that you have custom because, like with a site editor or block, sometimes they're adding new features that you have to specify that are supported. So this gives you some future-proof option there. You can have a description for the custom post type. And then you have this option to make it active or inactive. And this is a very nice feature because sometimes when you're troubleshooting or you're migrating or for other reasons, you could mark this as inactive without deleting it. So that's a nice option. Go to labels. I usually just go with the default labels. Okay. You can see it filled in the word books or book for each item. Visibility, show in the user interface, show in the admin menu. Admin menu parent, if you wanted to snug this down under one of the other top level menus, you could add that there. Menu position, I believe 30 will put it somewhere up in here. And then you can pick a dash icon. So I'm going to go to the page that shows the dash icons, type the word book, and we'll get that. And then paste that in there. You can create a custom callback function. Show an admin bar. That's up here for new. Appearance in menu support, sure. I don't want to exclude it from search. Now for URLs, you can change the permalink if you want, but by default, it's going to be this key or slug. I'll go with the default here. I don't need it in the feed. Yes, we want pagination on archives, and we'd like an archive. This is one of the main reasons to go to the advanced options. You can change the archive slug if you want. I'd like it to be publicly queryable, and this is the default query key. Going to be that same slug. Permissions. By default, it's going to be the same as posts, but you can change that if you want. And then delete with user. I don't want to do that. And I would like for it to be exportable. And then I'm just going to leave the REST API options alone. You're using Gutenberg, you do want it to show in the REST API. I think that's it. And I'm going to click Save Changes. Okay, and note here's our new custom post type. Let's go again to post types. I'm going to add now the second custom post type, which will be book authors. Okay, I don't use just the word authors or author because author is a reserved word in WordPress and you might get into trouble. Book author. Okay, and again, I'm going to change that to be a dash. We'll go to advanced config. Use the same options as we did before. I do like to have revisions. Author of the book, and it's active. Stay with the default labels. Go 30 again. Go back to the dash icons, and this time we're going to look for person. Okay. We don't need a callback, so this is good. URLs. We do want an archive. Okay, we'll go with the default permissions and default REST API. And now we're able to save this one as well. Okay, so we have our two custom post types now. Let's go and create a taxonomy. We'll add new. So it'll be the book genres. Okay, and this is going to be added to the audio book custom post type. We'll go to advanced configuration. We don't need to pre-sort the terms. I don't need to put in a default term, although you can do that. And it's active. Go with the default labels. Use the default slug. And it's nice to show in the admin columns. For URLs, the hierarchical, that's like categories. And the other is like tags. I'm going to click hierarchical, and I'll show you why when we're creating our records. Okay, and we'll go with the slug, and we'll accept the default REST API options. Click Save Changes. So now here are our genres. Next, we need to add the field groups. Now we have two custom post types, books and authors, and we want to put a relationship between them. And what the relationship does is a few things. One is it helps us to avoid repeating data over and over. Like, let's say we have several books by the same author, then we wouldn't need to repeat the author information several times. Just do it once and link to the author. Another reason to have the relationship is because when you are using the relationship field and you're creating a record in the custom post type that has the relationship field, it allows you to pick from the other custom post type. And so that's a big convenience. Now, one thing to think about, though, is that by default, the ACF relationships are one way. So that means that you have to think about which records you're going to put in first. The way I'd look at it in this case is because we might have several books with the same author, I think it's more convenient to put the author in first and then pick the relationship while creating the book record. And then after we show doing it the default ACF way, I'll show you a trick to make it bidirectional. Let's start though, and we're going to create the field group for the audio books. I'll add my field group. This is going to be called Book Fields. And then you see with ACF, you have across the top several tabs. And then for the field type, they have text, text area, number, range, email, URL, password, image, file, WYSIWYG editor, OEmbed, and then gallery is a pro. Since we're using free, that's grayed out. You have a drop-down select, checkbox, radio button, button group, true, false, and then relational, link, post object, page link, relationship, taxonomy user, Google map, date, date time, time, color, and then these are layouts, message, accordion tab, group, and then clone, flexible content, and repeater are pro only. So we have really 4 advanced field types here for pro. We have the gallery, and we have the clone, flexible content, and repeater. I know repeater is very popular and flexible content is very popular, but you do get a lot of features with the free version. For this first field, I'm going to do a number field, and we'll call it reviewer rating. And again, I prefer dashes. I'll put in a default value of 1. Before we go on, I wanted to show you that they added another feature in 6.1, and that was this browser-based way of picking fields instead of doing it through a drop-down. You have basic, content, choice, relational, advanced, layout, and pro, and popular. Okay, so that's another way to pick fields if that's easier for you. Then under validation, you can have required, a minimum value, which I'm saying is 1, maximum value, which I'll say is 5, so that would correspond to 5 stars. Under presentation, you can add instructions if you want, but if you do it, you should do it for all the fields because it helps them to align better. You have placeholder test if you want. Step size, I'm going to do 0.5 so that I can have half stars. Prepend, append, and then the wrapper, that would be the width. And the wrapper, I'm going to say 30%, so 1/3 of the way across the page. So let's close this one. And then I'm going to create 2 fields related to audiobooks. First one's going to be text, and this one's going to be reader. And there'll be no default value. We won't make it required. We won't need a presentation or conditional logic. Oops. We will need, under presentation, 30% width. Okay. We'll add another field, And this one is also going to be text. And this will be recording length. I guess I'll say book length. Okay, and use the dash. I guess I'll put a default value in, why not? Okay, we don't need any validation. Under presentation, we'll do a third and close field. Now we're going to add our relationship field. Okay, and so if you go down to relational, it's pretty cool that they have user and taxonomy relationships. Toolset, for example, doesn't let you create a relationship to users, which means you have to do a little song and dance to simulate that. There's relationship and post object work similarly. I'm going to go with relationship. And the field label, I'm going to say book author relationship. And we'll want to remember this. We'll need to use this again later when we do the bidirectional. But right now, there's that. I'm going to change to dashes. This is which type, when you're filtering, which type do you want to show? And I want it to be book authors. Okay, and I'm going to ignore these. And then just have a search filter if you need it. A lot of front-end tools support the post object, and that returns you an array with information about the post. But occasionally they'll want a post ID, so if that's the case, then you can come back in here and change that return format. Okay. Then there's this option here to show the featured image. That makes it a little nicer when you're picking, just gives you a visual clue. And I'm going to leave it at the default of 100% width. Don't need any conditional logic. There's our fields. Now you come down here. We want to assign it where post type is equal to audiobook. We don't need to change any of these presentation or group settings. This REST API doesn't affect us here. Okay, we'll just go with the defaults here. And now I'm going to save changes. Now let's go and create our second field group. I'll call this author fields. The first field is going to be a URL field, and this will be author's website. You notice I'm using an apostrophe S. There are a few tools that'll screw up. ACF is not one of them. It treats a label just like a label. Okay, change that to a dash, but something to consider. For safety's sake, in some instances you might not want to use an apostrophe. Validation, we don't want it required. For presentation, I think I'll make this 50%, and I'll close the field. Then I'll add another field. This one will be a date field, and we'll say date of birth. Change that to dashes, and then select the formats. I like this format. Something to think about though, sometimes you might need to come in here to tweak it, depending on what tool you're using and whatnot. And the week starts on Sunday. Let's see, then validation, we won't make it required. Okay, we'll make this 50% also. We don't need any conditional logic. Okay, so now we come down here and we want to show this when the post type is equal to book author. Okay, and save changes. All right, so now we've added our field groups, our post types, our taxonomies. If we look at tools now, see how this has changed, and we have more options of things to export. When you export them, you can export them as JSON, and that's what you would use to import into another site if you want to copy your custom post type to another site using ACF. But there's also the option to generate PHP that you can copy and paste and put into your custom plugin, or maybe the functions PHP file of a child theme. Okay, so good to know about that. And the export to code was a feature of CPT UI, so they've preserved that and brought that along for people, which is nice. Okay, now we can go and we can create a couple of records to show you how it works. Remember I said we're going to do authors first so that when we are in the books record we can pick the author. So I'm going to add a new author. This is going to be John Grisham. Here is some info about John Grisham, and I'll put in a little lorem ipsum text, and then we're here, we'll add his picture for the featured image. I've uploaded that already. Okay, and then we'll paste in the link to the author's website, and his date of birth was February 8th, 1955. So here's our first author record. I'll publish that. Now we'll go and add a book. This book is called The Whistler. And then we'll add our new genre, which will be legal thriller, and we will get our featured image and add that. And then reviewer rating, I'll say it's a 3.5 star. The reader for this audiobook is Cassandra Campbell. Okay, and the audiobook length is 13 hours and 10 minutes. Okay, now we want to make the book-author relationship. We only have one author here, but if we had more, there would be a list of them here, and you could search if the list was long. But all you have to do is click, and it gets added over here. Okay, and so now there's an association with the author made. So I am going to publish this. So this is a one-way relationship. See, if we go to look at the author record, there is no relationship option showing here. Okay, it's only on one side. So now let's enable the bidirectional feature. So go to ACF field groups. We have the field already defined for books. Now we need to add one for the authors. So I'm going to add a field, and this is going to be the same type field. You want it to be the same. So it's going to be relationship. And you want it to be named the same. Okay, this time though, we're filtering, we want to show books. We can skip that. We can turn these off. We're going post object. Now, we don't need to have a requirement. It's nice to have the featured image. I'm going to go with a default of 100% width. We don't need conditional logic. Okay, that doesn't change, so let's save. So if we want to have that convenience of it being bidirectional, then ACF has a code snippet. And let's go to the ACF website. Here are instructions about it, and here is the code snippet. So basically you're just going to copy this entire snippet here, okay, and at the very bottom it says ACF update value, the name. So we have to remember the field name that we gave it, which in our case is book author relationship. All right, now I've added that code snippet into WP Codebox. And WP Codebox suggests when you're adding ACF values that you add it on plugins loaded. I want it to load on the front end and in the admin because we want to use that relationship both when we're creating the records but we might want to use it also when we're outputting the data on the front. Okay, so it's disabled now, but I'm going to enable it. And you'll see at the bottom here I gave the name as that book-author-relationship, the name of the relationship field that's common between the two custom post types. So I'm going to save that. So now if we go to audiobooks and let's add new, and we'll put another book record in. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to use the hierarchical option to get that drop down, get the featured image, which I've already uploaded. So I'll give this a rating of 4.5. And that's the reader. And the book length is 11 hours and 36 minutes. Let's put in some text here. Okay, and you see at the bottom here, okay, this is what we had before for books. So previously we could only add it here, but I'm going to save this. Let's go to book authors, publish. Okay, let's go to book authors. And here you see we have the same type of feature on this side, except now we can pick books. And so here's the new book, and we can add that. So now we can do it from either side because we added the relationship field to both custom post types with the same name and added that code snippet. So I'm going to update this now. I just want to show you something here which you probably already know, but in case you don't, if we go to view, this is what we get out of the box. We've got this huge image, we've got the title and the content, but we don't have any of our custom fields. Okay, and that is the nature of core WordPress, is that, the themes by default, they don't show the custom fields on the front end. So we've done half the work. We've created the custom post types and we've added the custom fields, but the second half of the work is to display those on the front end. I do have on the WebTNG website more than 20 walkthroughs using different page builders and other tools for displaying custom post types on the front end. And on YouTube, there's more than 30 videos on this topic, walkthroughs using different tools like Beaver Builder, Elementor, Divi, Bricks, Oxygen, and also videos showing using other custom field plugins like Metabox, Pods, Toolset, or Jet Engine. There is a text version of the video available on the WebTNG website. Hope you found the video interesting and helpful. Thank you for watching.